And we have our daily installment of Why America's So Screwed Up, i.e., it's talk radio's fault. This one is Kurt Anderson. He was on Charlie Rose last night, the Charlie Rose Show on PBS. Kurt Anderson is the author and the editor of, well, one week he's at Vanity Fair, and the next week he's at the New Yorker, and then the week after that he's at New York Magazine, and they travel the circuit. And anyway, Charlie Rose and his effete, cosmopolitan, elitist PBS show, Kurt Anderson's new book, Fantasyland, How America Went Haywire. And Charlie Rose says, what happens when somebody like the National Security Council or the National Intelligence Apparatus recommends something based on its hard-nosed reality, and the president doesn't believe it? Because he's created this disrespect for what these people have usually depended on or telling. What a convoluted question. You know what he's asking? He's asking, you got these people at the National Security Council, and you've got the deep state embeds, and you've got the intelligence people, and you've got the climate change people, and you've got the welfare state people. You've got all these big government types. Why doesn't anybody believe them anymore? America's falling apart because nobody believes our in-bed deep state experts. Why is that, Mr. Anderson?
Right. And there are decent people of integrity on the right, what I call true conservatives, who are coming out and have been coming out and saying, we are culpable for convincing our followers that to distrust reality with which they disagree.
I want you to go back. I want you to really listen to this now. And I want you to ask yourself, who are these true conservatives he's talking about, who are coming out and saying that they are responsible for convincing conservative Americans to distrust reality? What conservatives are doing that? Which conservatives have you heard accepting blame? I can't think of one. I know the kind of people he's thinking about, but I can't think of. Snerdley, do you know of any conservative, even the ones that may not even be conservative? Is any one of them coming out and blaming themselves or others for lying to people, that conservatives are lying, and that's why people can't accept reality? It's that face job again. I tell you. Yeah. Can you think of any? No, it's not. Can you think of any conservative? I can't either. So really hear this guy's answer. Here it is from the top.
Right. And there are decent people of integrity on the right, what I call true conservatives, who are coming out and have been coming out and saying, we are culpable for convincing our followers that to distrust reality with which they disagree. And it's been going on again through the media, through talk radio, through talk television, through the internet, to enable people to make them think they are entitled to their own facts. And if a climate scientist or a national security expert comes on and says, no, here are the facts. No, I don't have to believe that because it doesn't conform with my opinion.
See, this is the way they are trying to segregate America here. They take their experts, be it climate change experts or be they national security experts, and they use the word expert. An expert is supposed to confer automatic credibility and infallibility. A left-wing expert cannot be wrong. And so anybody that doesn't accept what the left-wing experts say is not somebody who intellectually disagrees. It's a closed-minded bigot who has created his own alternative reality and lives there instead of accepting the facts from the experts. Now, climate change is back in the news today. I could have led with it, but I, folks, have a sensitivity that many of you have become worn out on the subject. I beg you to hang on because the New York Times has pulled out all the stops today on this issue. Anybody ever wondered why climate change is a political issue anyway? How did it become a political issue? Why is something like the weather, or how has it become a political issue? The first thing you want to ask. And why is it treated no differently than any other political issue? And the answer ought to convince you that it is a political issue and isn't about science. And the people advocating for it are seeking a political result that accomplishes pretty much everything liberalism espouses. Bigger government, higher taxes, blame the average American and his natural lifestyle for the problem. It's got every ingredient the left needs to advance their agendas. Here come these experts. I have scientists on my side, and they're experts, and they say it's not true. And I'm going to tell you this. Science cannot have a consensus. Science is not a democratic process. Science is not subject to majority rule or any vote. Something either scientifically is or it isn't, but it is not is if it's determined as the result of a vote. There's no such thing in science. Nobody voted on whether the earth is round. It was someday proven. And it's not round just because a majority of people, or flat because a majority of people thought it was. It's convoluted. National security experts, the same thing. So these people have their arrogant condescension and their smugness. And they're, of course, right, and they're experts. Now they've got to come up with these explanations why people don't believe them. And it cannot be that there is genuine intellectual disagreement. It cannot be that there is legitimate scientific questioning and disagreement. No. It has to be because their experts are infallible and we refuse to accept it, which makes us political enemies. There's a guy, our official climatologist, Dr. Roy Spencer, sent me to some guy, I forget his name, I didn't print this out, but some wacko climate scientist has written a book about trials of climate science deniers in 2029, of which Roy Spencer is one, and this guy wants to put them in jail and flog them, torture them. And they say this is an issue of science. There isn't any science involved in this because there isn't any open-mindedness. How can you possibly have science when there's no open-mindedness? And you talking about people refusing to accept reality, it's the climate change people that refuse to accept the reality of the evidence doesn't support their models. And the models is all they've got. There is no empirical data of climate change happening, certainly not caused by man. The climate's changing constantly. We need to acknowledge climate's changing all the time. The idea that we are making it happen is, frankly, absurd. So here's Kurt Anderson, talk radio. Right there, the media, talk radio, convincing our followers to disbelieve facts and truth. And he says he knows some conservatives who are admitting that they're guilty of having done this. He doesn't name them, of course. And Charlie Rose says, so Kurt, author of Fantasyland, How America Went Haywire, what happened, Kurt, in the 70s to change what was coming out of the 60s? I mean, you're the expert here, Kurt. You've written a book that makes you an expert. That's why you're a guest here on our network, PBS. So what happened in the 70s to change what came out of the 60s?
What's so strange is that it's seeped into all of American culture now for so many years, the have your own truth, find your own truth, do your own thing, that it's no longer about youth or not youth. It's part of the kind of American mental operating system. What happened on campuses and what happened at Woodstock didn't stay there. It sort of filtered out into the whole world. And then we got the internet. We got technologies in terms of cable television and talk radio and deregulated talk radio and the internet that allowed it to gave this sort of alternative facts worlds their own infrastructure.
These guys have it so in for us, folks. It is just they will not let this go. Now, you heard him say deregulated talk radio. That's the fairness doctrine. They just wish that had never happened. And this show would exist whether the fairness doctrine had been rescinded or not. Do not doubt me on this. And I am an expert in this. So now Woodstock. What happened at Woodstock didn't stay at Woodstock. And what happened on campus didn't stay on campus. It has slithered out of there, and it's now woven its way as an intricately deceptive web here that has led to all of these unregulated media. That means the government can't shut anybody up. And we're not going to rest until we get a government that can shut people up. Kind of like Google. Just shut up that guy out there who happened to write a manifesto that went totally contrary to the Google way of thinking. We'll be right back, folks.